So we have time for questions. So I'm Teresa Gilliard Cook. I'm the Senior Instructional Designer. Also presenting with us today as well is Doug Hemphill, one of my instructional designers, Carrie Mosick, one of my instructional designers, and Kathy Dutton has also joined us from CTS and has also been obviously integral into as we move forward with this migration. So the purpose of this presentation is to, again, just provide some ideas and suggestions on what you might do as you prepare your courses to get ready for migration. Doug or Carrie, could you watch the chat, please? Because I cannot see it. Thank you.
Sure.
So, all right, so our agenda today is basically just going to give you a very, very quick update because there's still things we're working on. Just to give you an idea of what we do mean by prepping a course for migration, things for you to think about as instructors and faculty, some of the next steps, some of the challenges we have found, and then questions. So most of you know us, we're all part of the support team. And of course, there are others that are supporting this endeavor as well, including Eric Goodnow, John Familo, Sean Moriarty, Greg Ketchum, Jill Pepin. Did I get everybody? If not, just chime in. So we've had a few summer courses launch on Monday, and there will be more courses coming later this summer. We do have a couple starting in session 2, and a majority of the pilot courses will be starting for session 3-4. We're finalizing the integration with Banner. We've had some success. We're waiting for a couple of other things, and then we're hoping very soon to have fall courses created in Brightspace. So what we mean by prepping a course is just taking a good look at your course and basically doing some house cleaning. For example, what do you need to keep? Are there things you should delete or maybe store elsewhere? Is the model, we talk about the module layout consistent with the course. And that should just be something you're thinking about. You may find after migration, you may need to move things around, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after. Also considering if your syllabus needs to be updated, if you do need access to the accessible syllabus that we've created. So there is a printable syllabus in your course. We can certainly provide that to you. Thinking about your course layout in the sense of making sure you have all of the materials in there that your students will need, and are they accessible? I will point out that we will have Ally in Brightspace, so that will also help as you create documents. And then thinking about what materials need to be updated. And then a couple of other things you need to keep in mind as well are, the updated federal regulation regarding regular and substantive interaction. And then again, doing your best to ensure multiple perspectives are being presented. And so that really falls into the college initiative pertaining to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So these are just things to think about with your course. And it really does not matter what modality you're teaching in. A lot of this is too, many of you will be using the DLE to web enhance your face-to-face courses. Some of you are teaching hybrid courses. Some of you are teaching what we're calling synchronous online courses, where there is a meeting time that is through, that is a virtual meeting time, and there's still coursework the students are doing through the digital learning environment. So a lot of the things we're talking about here is not 100% focused on online. It's focused on just thinking about how you use this tool in order for you to provide what you need to your students. So other considerations you do need to think about is the time it's going to take for you to work through your course. For some, it may be very quick. For some, it may be quite a bit there. But we also want you to consider you have, your other work commitments that you may have throughout the summer. And because, again, we're all trying to think about how this last 2 years has impacted us all, the emotional toll of taking on too much. So it's prioritizing where you think you need to put your energies at any time during the summer. But particularly for faculty who are teaching fully online courses for the fall, some of these things are really critical, because obviously you need to have your course ready to go for fall. So for your next steps, and again, this document, Prepping Your Course for Migration, has been put out in a variety of communications over the last several months. So this document will help guide you through the process. We put the link in here for this presentation because it will be available, but also if you go to oswego.edu/DLE, if somebody could put that in the chat for me, please. All of our updates are on this site. In fact, we just asked for an update to be done, and I'll talk more about that update shortly. So this document will just help you think about what it is you need to do, but it also includes information on copying your courses into Brightspace. So as we've put out multiple times, if you are teaching an online course in the fall, please copy your course content into your Fall 22 shell in Blackboard. We've also said in a variety of communications that all Fall 22 online courses will be migrated starting on or about this Friday, May 27th. And again, we just ask that you have all of your content into your fall shell. If you can do your updates, all the better. It'll save you some time when you bring things over. And we will get those packaged up and brought over so that you can start working on your course. Again, as we've mentioned in multiple announcements, if you are teaching in other modalities, you can use the Fall 2022 course migration request form so that we can, again, get your courses brought over into Brightspace. And you also have the option to migrate the courses yourself. And we have documentation on how you can do that. Yes, Kathy, please jump in.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. You can hear me. Yeah, you can. Yes. I can see the transcription. When we say fall 2022 online classes will be automatically brought over, we're talking about the ON classes. So if it's an OY class, it's not going to be automatically brought over.
Thank you, and we'll clarify that in the document as well.
Because we don't know if that's going to be taught, right? Synchronous again.
The OY section?
Right.
I don't know at this point.
Right.
I know that my understanding was that was not supposed to be, but there could be situations where it may be happening. So right. We may have to reach out to the faculty who may be teaching those sections.
Yeah.
Okay. So some things to think about too is after your course is copied into Brightspace, we ask you to review your courses, and a lot of the documentation we've already put out there explains to you where you might find it. You will find it once you get into Brightspace, you will find it in an area called conversions. And that's where you'll be able to find your course, make sure you have all the pieces, and work on your course in there so that you can have it, start having it ready for fall. Go ahead, Douglas. You're muted.
That's because there's construction outside. In the chat, there's a request about for the link to the course migration request form.
Kara, would you mind putting that in, please? Thank you. Okay. And as always, you can reach out to the DLE support team. The best way for you to reach out to us is through the help desk. Send a request to help@oswego.edu, and your request will be directed to a member of the DLE support team. We've been getting questions through the help desk, and we are doing our best to get them answered as quickly as possible. So these are some of the challenges we have found, and I really wanted us to be able to spend a little bit more time here, because I think there'll be some questions with that, and there'll be questions we can't readily answer either, because again, we're still working through some of the challenges we have found. So one of the big things we found is that if you're an instructor who tends to use a lot of submodules within your main module, there will be challenges with navigation with that. There is a tool in Brightspace called Course Builder that can allow you to more easily move your content around. So for example, pulling your submodules out and putting them at the module level, instead of having to do a lot of copy and paste, this is drag and drop, which is, it can be very, very, very helpful as you're trying to think about what your course structure might look like. There is the student view can be a little bit different. And there is a table of contents that appears on the course homepage that can help students navigate through these materials. Again, yes, it could help with students navigating through submodules, but we would encourage you to pull all of that out and create modules, because again, for student navigation, that will be a lot easier. Go ahead, Doug.
Just a quick clarification. In this case, the table of contents that's being referred to is on the left side once you're in the course. There's also a visual table of contents, which is what appears on the home page. So in this case, what a student sees that you don't is when they go into a module, they'll see the submodules on the table of contents. So they can use that to navigate if they get lost.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you don't see that.
Okay, and we realize too that a lot of this we're talking about is rather nebulous because you can't see it right now. Later in the week, we plan to do just a 20-minute session on some basic, what Brightspace looks like, and just provide some ideas on some base navigation to get through that. Once you are all able to get in there, which should be very soon, you'll be able to see some of these things we're talking about. And please keep in mind that these slides will be available for you to be able to access should you need them, as well as some of the other documents we've created. We have seen some issues pertaining to the grade center. We found that the grade center may need a lot of cleanup, or may also need to be totally deleted and start from scratch by you then linking your appropriate assignments, tests, quizzes, etc. to the grade book within Brightspace. We all, just as an aside too, we are working on a document that will provide the different vocabularies, because, for example, in Blackboard, we had the grade center and now it's back to a grade book. So we're trying to create that documentation too, to help you as we talk about these different components within Brightspace, to provide you a point where it's like, oh, in Blackboard it was this. Okay, now I know what you mean. So we're that is just about ready to go. We just need to do a final review and make any final edits. So that should be out and available very shortly as well. Discussions will be slightly different, and they should work without modification on, so that you should be able to just be able to utilize them. As it says here, you will need to re-add them to the grades, to the grade book. If you wind up building your discussions from scratch, there is an extra step that you will need to do. But what we're seeing with discussions that already exist, they seem to be coming over without much issue. Okay, so again, we wanted to provide different things. We wanted to provide when we're going to be doing office hours and other types of campus-based support for you all. The big thing is, again, we keep saying, and we've said it through multiple communications through the college, to please use the training that is available through SUNY Center for Professional Development. You'll get, they have been doing this, and they keep adding pieces or keep making pieces a little bit clearer, so that it will help you as you work through this. When you're in those sessions right at the moment, they are providing you with a temporary, basically a temporary course shell within their instance of Brightspace, so at least you can move around. The other thing you can do is utilize the sandbox, the Brightspace sandbox, and that's another place where you can also work through some of these challenges or see how things work. The Brightspace sandbox will also allow you to bring your course over yourself if that is something you're comfortable doing. So for campus-based support, the DLE team will be starting office hours as of June 7th via Zoom. The dates and times will be posted on the DLE website, hopefully before the end of the day. I'll post the hours momentarily in the chat, because I've posted them in a couple, I've provided them in a couple of places already. Oops, sorry. Migration and Munchies. This is something we've been working with Liz Schmidt and Sarah Weissman in the library to get set up. So basically these would just be informal in-person get-togethers. We're working on getting those exact dates and times and the place. We are hoping to do this in the library because it's more centrally located. The Migration and Munchies would allow faculty to work together in small groups if they wish. There will also be at least one member of the support team available for each of these sessions. We are looking for these sessions to be, a 3-hour block, but of course you can just come for an hour, half hour, whatever works for your schedule. But we plan on doing those at least through the end of July, and we may be adding more dates and times into August, because again, we're cognizant that people may need more of that as well. There will be some basic workshops that the DLE team will run. However, the audience will be for new faculty and for adjuncts. We are encouraging our faculty to go through the Center for Professional Development, and we can make sure you have that link if you need it. And those are the places that would make a lot more sense for you to go there for their training. They have a variety of modalities that they're offering. And the other thing you will be able to access once you can get into our instance of Brightspace, and there are asynchronous training modules that you can walk through, and that will be another resource for you to maneuver your way through Brightspace. Go ahead, Douglas.
Sandy is asking if there's any plans to do migration and munchies at the Syracuse campus at this time.
No. No, I just don't feel we will have the capacity to be able to do that at this time. And I can understand we do have a large faculty base in Syracuse. And that, the munchie part, I'm not sure how that would work because that's not something I'm working on. That's Liz Schmidt is working on that once we have our dates. So I know that was a lot of stuff we put in there pertaining to what's, some of the challenges, but at this point, I'd like to provide you all the opportunity to ask questions, and let us know what other things you would like to see as far as our documentation. Hi, Gwen.
Hi, Teresa. So weird question.
Okay.
I get that we can move 4 courses over and I came in a little bit late. So if I already missed this, I'm apologizing.
That's okay.
Hypothetically speaking,
Yes.
if I'm not teaching 4 courses in the fall, but I would like 4 courses transferred over, how do I make sure that that happens?
Good question. Okay, so what we're looking at initially are fall. However, we realize that there are courses that are taught irregularly. There are courses that are only taught in winter or in spring. So we will again be doing a call for courses to be brought over for winter, for spring, and for those that are not taught on a regular schedule. Does that help?
Okay, so I can only migrate into shells those courses that are already on the books to be taught in the fall, but then for the future, there'll be
Yes.
future migration moments that will happen that I don't need to worry about them yet.
Right. And actually, I think that brings up a really good point though, Gwen, because I realized too, we've had this question before regarding archiving and, thinking of record retention and things like that. So we are working on a solution for courses to be archived, as far as how we can make sure we can get any information we should need, for example, last date of attendance. So we're working on that. Secondarily, we are, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, Kathy. I lost my train of thought. And I'll get right to
Okay,
you.
so we will be contracting with Blackboard, their archive service, for the past 3 semesters. So we would have your full course, and that would include any student data. I mean, that's projected what we want to do is the last 3 semesters. I will tell you though, that there's some faculty that have very, 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 very large courses, like 50 gigabytes, and that could be problematic because we're paying by the size. But anyways, we're definitely going to have courses that we'll have in there. The spring will be, and we'll probably do the last fall. Then what we will get eventually is we will get all the courses from Blackboard on an external hard drive. They will be an archive file that can be opened up in another learning management system. But what you don't get is you won't have the student data. There's just no way that LMSs, you can't take student data from one LMS to another. So you don't really have to worry about getting all your courses over, but what we want you to focus on is getting the ones over that are going to be taught soon, like in the fall and in the spring. And then the online courses for the winter session next spring and then next summer, we will work on those just like we are with the fall, the ON courses. Does that help,
Thank you.
Gwen?
That is great. Thank you both so much.
Teresa.
Hold on, Sarfraz, hold on. I have others ahead of you, please. Thank you, Kathy, because that was the piece I knew I was going to say, was that there was going to be the drive that would have all the courses. That was what I lost my train of thought on. Go ahead, Lisa.
So I think I have the same question that Sandy just raised in the chat about, so I will often get a request for a letter of recommendation, and I'm going back to a class sometimes like 6 years ago, so I can pull up what their grades were, or even more specifically, like what their paper was, so I can take a look when I write the letter. So Sandy asked, should we download courses as a zip file on our own storage place? Like, is there a way for me to go in and download? I mean, I guess at the very least, I should be downloading the grade books. But like, just so that I'll be able to get to that, so I can verify like what class is a student even in, even if I can't get to their paper, but I could see like what they got for the different components of the research or whatever.
Yeah, so Lisa, that zip file is really going to be totally useless for you unless you put it into another learning management, and you won't have any of the information that you want. So you can download papers. You can also, the easiest way I would say is you could download your grade centers, right? That doesn't take a whole lot of time for those courses, but just think back, what did you do when we migrated from Angel to Blackboard? You know, there's a point that you just can't go back. So you had
Right.
that same problem then.
Yeah, I think with Angel though, I mean, maybe because I didn't have to go back with it. I thought with Angel, I know I downloaded each of my courses, but maybe it was the same useless zip file information.
Yeah, it would have been.
Okay.
It would have been useless for you, except to keep it if you ever wanted to put it into a different learning management system for the course content, the course
Okay.
materials.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Right, I'm just looking through the chat at this point. Oh, Sarfraz, I am sorry. Go right ahead.
Teresa, I have a quick question. Recently, when you came to our School of Business retreat, we did talk about the fact that some of us have recently, refreshed our courses to Ultra, and we have just started in Ultra. It's one semester, but we don't know how to transfer from Ultra to Blackboard. So are we going to make a special request for that?
Well, first and foremost, we do have, the courses that are going to be taught, we know in the spring, in the fall, for the Degrees at Scale program. So in all honesty, I've not thought about that quite yet because we wanted to get summer done, but obviously fall is absolutely on our radar. So at this point, I can't answer your question 100%, but I have had several faculty who are teaching courses in our instance of Brightspace in the fall and have requested that their content be moved from Ultra into our instance of Blackboard into their fall shell. So for example, Sarfraz, if you're going to teach Management 495 for the Degrees at Scale program in the fall, we can copy the current course over from Ultra into your fall Blackboard shell, let you make the updates, and that would be one of the courses that would get migrated as a fully online course. For the courses that are going into the Degrees at Scale, like I said, we don't have that solved yet. In fact, it hasn't been a conversation we have yet had because our focus has been on summer.
This is not a Degrees of Scale kind of a thing. It's a regular 495, which I refreshed with Doug's help last semester. Okay. And there were lots of changes made. But for summer, since I couldn't transfer it, I'm using my previous version to teach in the summer. But in the fall, I like to use my Ultra refined course in the fall in a regular Brightspace.
Okay, so I would encourage you to put in a ticket in the help desk, asking us to copy your management 495 course that is currently in Ultra into your fall 22 course shell in Blackboard.
Okay, that will solve my problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Oh my goodness, this was a very busy chat. Dennis. Okay, so hi there, how are you?
I'm great. I don't want to sound like a ringer because I'm not, but it's just a little piece that I learned yesterday
Okay,
from Jamie. Stay away from the overview because I guess the phone app doesn't work.
okay, I am not
It's
Yeah.
the main piece when you open it up the top in the content,
okay,
Brightspace.
okay. Well, right.
I shouldn't
there-
have said anything.
No. I'm glad you did, because again, those are things that can help us as we work with you all. So, and again, we have been in multiple sessions of the training that's being offered for faculty, but as things are found out, we haven't necessarily heard
Yeah.
about them right away. So no, that's something good to know, and that's something good for us to look at, because again, as we think of the Pulse app, that is,
That's it. Yeah.
yeah, the Pulse app. Now, there's a couple things we want to keep in mind with Brightspace, okay? Number one is that it is mobile first responsive design. So what that means is that if a student opts to open up Brightspace or go to our instance of Brightspace on their phone using the web browser, they will get a good experience. And of course, you could use the Pulse app as well. So it really depends on how your students are going to access your course. What the responsive design component means is that regardless of what kind of a device a student's on, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a tablet, a laptop, the screen will adjust appropriately so they don't have to scroll across. Because if you think about, like with Blackboard, for example, you always had to scroll across because the app just didn't work great, or it didn't work great through the web. But this works well through those two pieces. So, but knowing that there are little quirks with the app is really helpful too.
So I do have at some point, will there be a way to kind of complain about certain things in a positive way? Because I have a couple of issues already with Brightspace.
You know what? I think it's helpful for us to hear it, because again, so if you want, put, and Kathy, if you don't think this is a good idea, you tell me, but you could certainly put a ticket into the help desk, more informational for us, because there may be ways to work around some of these things, and maybe we don't know what they are right at the moment, but we may be able to help down the road.
Well, yeah, I'm just actually more talking in terms of they build something where the users, and here are the limits of it. So yeah, that's what they gave me, is a couple of workarounds, but I'm like, you have to multiply that by the users. And I think, we're paying enough for this. So certain things should be made better. And one of which is the video recording feedback. You can't scroll through a document and record a video. So that's kind of obsolete, not obsolete. That's just not practicable for something I need,
Understood. Okay.
And again, I was told to give it a workaround, which I could do, but that's not my point. This thing costs a lot of money. We have a lot of labor to do it. So let's make it, tell them to make it better. That's all.
Right, Dennis, if you want, just put
Yeah.
them, would you mind
Yeah,
putting
I
them in
mean-
an email? Either you can send them to the help desk so the whole DLE team can see it, or you can send them to me and I'll share it out to the.
Yeah. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to sound like a know-it-all. Or
No,
just,
no.
Just a couple of things that when I first heard about, I was like, wow, this is going to be great. And then I find out it's not, what I thought it was. That's all.
No,
Certain
and
things.
that's really, Dennis, it's really helpful for us to hear that too. I don't look at it as a complaint. I look at it as, okay, here are some things we really need to consider when as Brightspace, adds more functionality or updates things.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Sarfraz, do you have another question?
No,
Okay, could you put your hand down, please?
yeah, well, I don't know how it keep up.
I
Sandy,
have
go
a
ahead.
question, yeah. And I think you're aware of it, but I just wanted to throw it out there was, I tried to do the migration thing myself, but if it's over 2 gigabytes, I think
Yes.
it won't do it. And
Exactly.
we don't know why mine is 3 gigabytes.
Right.
So,
Right. I know I've looked at your course and I haven't had an opportunity to get back to it.
so will you guys help me with that? Like you'll migrate me
We'll
after
help you.
Friday?
We'll help you because we do have to figure out why it's doing that. Because
Yeah.
again, as you and I talked and you and I went through the course,
There's nothing
I-
major in it, yeah.
I couldn't find where you had videos uploaded in there. You had a lot of links out, but that's where I'm struggling. And this may be where we may have to ask Kathy to take a quick look too, because
Okay.
I could very well be missing something, but I can't figure it out.
Thank you.
So when you're doing the archive, before you get to it, there's in the top part that says compute size.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you can dive down there. I mean, obviously I can't check it right now because I'm in my car, on my cell phone, but we can look at that. The other thing, I was looking at the chat. So with Panopto, it's going to be in Brightspace. In fact, the integration's already set up. And we were told that you would have to redo your links to your videos, but you don't, which is kind of cool. So that's one thing you won't have to worry about. And I saw I think the biggest offender has been if you're creating videos and you're uploading them directly into Blackboard. I saw Doug said something, you need to either move them to Panopto or YouTube before we bring them over. The biggest thing to understand is we are now like global citizens of the SUNY-wide community. And it's one tree for Brightspace for SUNY. And then there's all these branches, and Oswego is one branch. But what happens is when we are bringing in courses using the bulk course migration process through Brightspace, they all go initially through that trunk and then they go to the right branch. And one course that's really, really big bogs it down for everybody. And when they see that it's not processing, they will kill it. So it's really important to be thinking about these things, to be conscious of it. And like I've said before, I said to CTAB, we want to be good citizens, right? We just want to be, and we want to take care of making sure that our courses will go through without a problem and we're not causing problems for other campuses. And then there's some of the biggest ones, the courses, I've looked through them a little bit, is Zoom. If you were downloading your Zoom recordings and then uploading them into Blackboard, you'll want to take those out of Blackboard. And we have to get rid of Zoom recordings after so long, only because of the file limitations. If you really still want that recording, you can download it to your own computer. So I hope that helps some of the video questions.
So just tagging on to what you were just saying, is Panopto in Brightspace now? And there's also just some general questions about Red Shelf and Pearson and My Math Lab.
Yep.
If those are all turned on now.
Yep, so Panopto integration's done. Red Shelf is done. The integration has tested. Pearson, I have not tested the integration yet, only because there was not a course that needed to use it for session 1 that was in Brightspace. Cengage, I had problems, so I've worked with that. That works. Lumen Learning works. McGraw-Hill, we've ironed out the issues with that, works. The Pearson MyLab is a deep integration, and that's been set up. It just needs to be tested. So we're still working on the third-party tools. By August, hopefully by July, they will all be in and have been tested. Any other questions, Doug?
I think that's it for now.
Kathy, a quick
Okay.
one. Those, some of us who are teaching synchronously, we find those recordings come from the Skype or the one we are using here are very useful. Students have to, miss the classes. There are some new programs where some people can't complete the courses and they take it in a hybrid fashion. So those recordings are very useful. They were very helpful.
Yeah, and they are,
Right.
Sarah.
But when you do a Zoom recording, you can, the default is to store in the Zoom cloud.
Mhm.
And it's, if you've set up Zoom in your course correctly, students will be able to get to that recording without you having to do anything.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Anything
If you have
in cloud,
questions,
yeah.
we can work with that.
Okay, thank you.
But I want you to keep in mind, Sarfraz, when you're doing recordings during a specific semester,
Mhm.
those recordings are for that specific semester.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
fine. That's fine.
Right. So then at the end of the semester, when the semester's all done and the grades are submitted and all of that, then it makes sense to go ahead and delete those recordings and start new ones for your new course.
I have no problem with that.
Other questions, concerns?
So Michael, did you have a different question or did I answer it in text? Okay, so yeah, he's all set.
I have another question.
Sure, Sandy.
Back to about the Panopta, I only started using Panopta, I don't know, probably a year ago or maybe 3 semesters ago. So, and I think you answered this before, but I'm just listening and trying to process. So if I made Panopta videos that I want to use, like we did IPS 320, and like Lisa's teaching it right now
Mhm.
and using some of the videos that we made with Panopta. But I told her, I said, Kathy's got to give permission for that Panopta that was made fall 2021 to work summer 22. So will those copy into Brightspace, those Panopta videos? I mean, like one was a guest speaker that we used.
Right. And those are a series of links. So it's really going to be linking that in because, you remember none of those Panopto videos are actively in the course. There are links to that.
To like a Panopta storage area.
Exactly.
So we'll still have that
Yep.
Panopta storage area and we can still somehow know what the link is, or it'll go find it, or.
Yeah, so this is what totally excited me. I geeked out. I had videos that I had in Panopto in Blackboard. I imported my course into Brightspace, and those videos, that link, that it took me right back to where they were stored in Panopto when I had them in Blackboard. Then, anything I want to create in my course now in Brightspace will just have a different folder. So the biggest thing that might be a problem, and this is what you had before with Sandy with your IPS course and Lisa, we just need to move the permissions. And that's something that Dan Laird or I can do from the admin council inside Panopto to make sure that your students and you have access to those videos that were created in Blackboard.
So,
And now
so
being
we'll
viewed in-
continue, so we'll continue to have to give permissions every time we teach it, a different semester.
Not necessarily, not
Okay.
necessarily. It just depends. I mean, right now, if you created something and another person is using the course, then that could be, I mean, your and Lisa was a little bit different.
Mhm.
There was a problem with the way that we had things set up in Panopto. Something happened in Blackboard with Panopto, that when you did a course copy from semester to semester, sometimes that permissions were lost.
Mhm.
That is on my list to make sure that we resolve that issue with Brightspace. So going forward, you won't see, you need to give student, John permission to view this video, and then you get another email that says you need to give Sally that permission, you need to give Frank, that's annoying. So we'll try to resolve that. So when you copy from course to course, those links and permissions get copied forward.
Thank you.
Kathy, my recollection is that there's documentation somewhere on how to calculate your course size when you're doing the export, isn't there?
Yeah, it's right in when you're doing the export. It's the first part of it.
It's right
And there
there,
is-
and that's what it
it's
said,
part
it's
of-
too big.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know though if you can drill down and find out why it's too big, right? And what might happen is we just have to put a ticket in with our support team from SUNY for them to look at it. They can actually look at the course files in the database and try to help us if I can't get access to figure out why, if I don't have the tools to figure out why it's big.
Okay, so yeah, Michael, I just wanted to get a little more detail for your questions. So you can double check the size using the export. When you go to the Blackboard export, it'll tell you how big it is. And if it's still too big, then you can follow up with the help desk and we.
Yeah.
Michael,
Please, why don't you put a ticket in, okay? And we'll work with you one-on-one. I think that's going to be the most.
yeah, at this point, we're
Immediate way.
drilling down far enough that I'll
Um,
give you the address.
Thank you, Doug. Dennis, go ahead.
Just maybe a specific question is, has anyone had trouble with blogs? I don't know if their blogs feature is in, because my class is all blogs.
There is no blog feature in Brightspace.
So 2003, I know, but
No, you know what? No, there is validity to that. As we know, there is using blogs can be appropriate
right.
in so many ways. So one of the things we have seen was that discussion forums can be used in that way. So that may be something we can work with you to figure out how we can best make that work for you.
At this point, I just want things to work. So,
Understood.
But it's not going to bring them over. So I might have prompts and things like that in the blogs, which I've already I'm a nut, so I already copied those things because I don't want to lose stuff.
Right.
So I just want to also ask, try to get this done by Friday as far as into the Blackboard shell.
If you're teaching a fully online course.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
If you can,
No.
if you need more time to do any updates, that's fine. You can always do the updates once we get it migrated over.
I guess the issue is with me is I want to see if it's going to work before I do all this work in Blackboard. And so I kind of want to bring it
That's
over
fine.
crappy and then fix it there. But
No, Dennis,
yeah,
it needs to work best for you.
Yeah.
So if that's how you would prefer to bring it over, then do so. And then you have a variety of ways to work with us should you need our assistance in figuring out the best way to set your course up again. Does that help?
yes, thanks.
You're welcome.
And yeah, Dennis, I'll just say the same thing we said to Michael. Go ahead and drop a help ticket in and specifically note that you want to work on your blogs. And one of us will follow up with you and we'll look at the best way to implement that into Brightspace. Because there is supposed to be a way to use discussions in a very similar way.
All right, Holly, you have a question, please.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you fine.
Awesome. So I have a question about the discussions and tests. I've gone through the async training that they've done through SUNY. So I know that like with forums, they're called forums and threads in Brightspace for discussions, and in Blackboard, we called them something else. We had the forums that we were supposed to create first and then deploy them each semester as we wanted to make them. So it sounds like it's the same thing. When they're migrating over though, are they actually going over that way? And same thing with like tests and the test bank.
Well,
You want me to answer these ones, Teresa?
well, again, I was just gonna, I'm also want to be very cognizant of the time because we're running over and I don't want to run over too much more. So
I can give you a short answer.
Short
Well-
answer is fine.
The discussions, broadly speaking, will come over without a problem. They just need to be reconnected to the grade book. They just look a little different because of how they're set up. But at this point, you don't need to worry about that. You still click on a discussion and you'll be in the discussion and you can post. Tests, it really depends how the test was originally set up. My best recommendation is just wait a couple days and we'll have documentation out to cover the two main circumstances, and that'll help you out a lot.
Okay.
But yes, you will
Yeah.
most likely have to repair the tests.
okay, like I said, we're running a little bit over. If you have additional questions, please feel free to put in a ticket at help@oswego.edu. It will be directed to a member of the DLE support team and we will work to assist you. If you, again, this is going to be, we're going to have a fun summer. So just be aware that our office hours start June 7th. And there will be other types of supports for you over the summer to help you work through your courses. So thank you all very much for coming.
Okay,